Boom.
Yeah,
Jim,
Saunders, you redid our intro.
every week is a new intro.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Exactly. So yeah, do you know what? I always find a great way if it's how I cure my procrastination. I find doing a job that I want to do, and I keep building those tasks up. And so eventually, if I've got something that I don't want to do, I'll go, let's do a new intro.
I do that the same thing. That's the same thing I do for creating merch.
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
just launched a new pineapple pizza thing. I was like, those times I'm like, I just don't want to do the hard stuff. So I'm going to do some work, but it's going to be easy, fun stuff.
Exactly. And I love the pineapple pizza stuff, by the way.
I thank you.
That looks really cool. But yeah, speaking of cool stuff, we've got two great guests on our show today. And I don't know if you have this phrase in the US, but it's very much here in the UK that, they say great things are like buses. There's not one for ages and then two come along at once. And that's what we've got tonight. We've got two great guests. And so we'll be talking about that. But before we get to that, I believe it's Hypnoticon this week.
Oh, yes. Out in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, that looks like such a great event. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, and it'll be nice and warm in Orlando as well. All conferences should be in hot climates, I believe.
They should, except in the summertime.
Yeah.
Although we make an exception for Hypno Thoughts.
Yeah, I must admit, Hypno Thoughts. Really looking forward to that. Right. Again, the Sahara it's a great space, and it's just Hypno Thoughts is its own beast. I'm excited for that. But we're well and truly into kind of conference season now. So this one is one I've not been to. I've seen Jeff Bennick from Europe is on his way over there now. Mm-hmm. I believe Kaz Riley might be on. I know she's over there somewhere. So there's lots of great people at this one. So I think it's going to be fantastic. Is this one you've ever been to, Jim?
I've never been either. Nope. I'm hoping to go one of these days. And like we talked about before, it's Richard Nongard and Jason Lynette, so it's got to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is great. And I think after that, the next conference or the next big conference is going to be Heartland's.
Heartland, yes.
So, yeah. Just a quick mention on Heartland's before we get into it, because the guests have got something exciting about Heartland's as well. But, plug for iShirt there. If you are an iShirt member, you do get a £50 discount on your kind of registration for Heartland. So do check that out. Check the link out for that as well. That is really, really cool. So we've got two great guests.
Can't wait to talk to them.
Yeah, they're running. Go on.
Who's watching right now? Let me see who's watching. Drop a comment.
And let us know where you're watching from as well. I know we're going live on YouTube, Facebook, and in a couple of the groups as well. So do let us know. And if you have any questions for our guests, then please feel free to ask them. Sean says, good evening.
Captain, good to see you, buddy.
So, yeah. It's it's good morning for me.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Whereabouts is Sean? Is Sean your neck of the woods?
No, he's on the opposite side of the continent. He's closer to you than me, probably. Well, no, that's probably not true. He's in northeast Canada.
Oh, of course, yeah, he's that way, isn't he? I don't know why I thought he was near you. Yeah.
Same continent, I guess.
Yeah. And they have miles in Canada, so that makes sense. So, yeah. So, workshop-wise, do you want to introduce our guests? Should we one together or one at a time?
You know what? I think one at a time.
Brilliant. Well, I'll bring Sandra on, and you can bring John on.
Perfect.
There we go. So, guys, Sandra Grace is a formidable force in the hypnosis world, an absolutely fantastic person, and a great sharer of knowledge. She was recently with us at the Performing Hypnosis Summit. Not just there, she was a very much a pillar of strength to help us be a little bit organized as well. She was there doing a workshop with Terry Stokes, which was phenomenal. And she's going to be talking about something she's doing at Heartland. So please, guys, make her feel very welcome. Sandra Grace.
Sandra.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, who is that you've got with you there?
Oh, this is Beauregard. On confused, it's Beau. If he's naughty, it's Beauregard.
Awesome.
Tonight it's Beauregard. If you see me muting, it's this.
Wow.
We're good. We're good. Hey guys, I wanted to tell you again, thank you so much for the summit. I have to say, it was obviously my first time attending because it was the first conference, and I had some high expectations. I've been to some great conferences, I mean, I've been blessed and been to that same hotel to some really great conferences, right?
Right.
I was really thinking it was a class act. The way that you two handled everything, both the online and the live version, it was so warm and welcoming, and also it had an incredible professional feel about it. And so I think that's a real finesse to be able to host a summit or a conference that has that blend. I was really impressed. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of that.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your kind words. We were lucky that there was some great people involved in helping us make that. So I would love to take all the credit for it, but it's all of those people, yourself included, that enabled that to happen. So yeah, it was a collective credit. So
well, thank you for hosting it. Thank you for creating a space for us to be together as a community. I appreciate you so much.
Awesome, thank you. And I will say this: you may have converted me to Reiki a little bit as well, but don't tell anyone. I'm trying to keep that on the down low. So I've had an injured shoulder, and literally this afternoon, someone was doing Reiki on my shoulder for me as well, and so I'm a little bit of a convert. So yeah, but shh, it's just between us.
I'm proud of you. It's interesting because one of the things that I'm here to share tonight is at the Heartland Conference we have a training that we're going to be sharing, and I have from the beginning always had these hybrid hypnosis opportunities. So for me, it's always been about a blending of modalities, right, since beginning of time. And I was shocked to learn, Jim, I didn't know you had a background in these multiple modalities as well. So that was fun for me to get to know you and to learn that part of you as well. So this isn't new to you to mix hypnosis with other modalities as well, right?
I used to be a hippie. That's right.
I love it. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. So I've always, blend hypnosis with, with energy work, or blended hypnosis with coaching, or, and looking at other, modalities that we love and use, and how do you create the hypnotic phenomena within those other modalities as well. And so this is how this course kind of came about, which is pretty cool. It was a conference. And I met this amazing, new hypnotist. He was a newbie, and he just didn't feel like a newbie. You know how sometimes you meet him and you're like, I kind of feel like you know more about this. Hard to believe you're new at this. And so as we got to talking at the conference and we got to know one another, he was telling me about his background. And I'm not going to steal that part of the show. I'm going to let him explain that himself. And honestly, I would slaughter some of the language anyway. But what I'll tell you is that I was just so impressed with who he is and how he's showing up in our community, and as a new hypnotist, the things that he's contributing and bringing to our community. And so what happened is he happened to be in a class that I was teaching, where I was talking about how we can use the olfactory sense, how, I train people with things like essential oils and stuff, that hippy dippy stuff, and how powerful that can be in creating the hypnotic phenomena. And so afterwards, he and I had this this background that he's going to tell you about. Like, since he's like 9 years old, he's like amazing. All this time that he's had in this world, working with the olfactory sense, and now how he's working to combine that with the hypnosis. And so we got together and we just created this really cool, olfactory induction technique. So it's just so great that, you meet people and you get to come together, So like you said, the summit, I had this honor. I had met at Heartland again a year ago. I had met Terry Stokes for the first time. And then at your summit, I got to present with him for the first time. And then, last year at another conference, I had a chance to meet John. And now at Heartland, I get to present with John, right? It's just so fun. I love how you two have come together, and that, the energy of your parts have created so much more than the sum, right? Like, you two together are making such an impact as individuals, but as a team. And so when we come together and we teach these courses together, we come up with these protocols together, right? Like what we bring to the community. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Collaboration is absolutely, I think it's just key. And like you said, it's you become two separate entities together create this new energy, and these new ideas come forward that are just, I couldn't do the work that I do without Jim. Absolutely. It's I'd like to think likewise. It's that collective energy works really well. So you spoke about him. Let's bring him on.
I concur, Grant. First of all, you know what, Sandra, why don't you want to bring him on, since you know his background better, and I'm sure you can pronounce his last name.
Oh, John is gonna just be so kind as I slaughter these things. What I can tell you about John is that he, like I said, newer to the hypnosis field, but has these backgrounds that I'm gonna let him explain to you when he gets here. And he is really, like, he's been in so many forms of entertainment out there. He's been in the entertainment industry for years. He's also had the opportunity to be helping and guiding people through healing journeys for a long time, and now he's just pulling it all together in a new way as he's really getting to know our hypnosis community. And I'm so excited. He's actually a local of St. Louis area, and so he's going to be in his own hometown area when he presents at the Heartland Hypnosis Conference. So John, come up and tell us more about your background and explain to us how you're bringing these wonderful things together.
Well, first of all three of you are so nice. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but I think what I would like to start with is sharing how I got into hypnosis, and also meeting Sandra. So there's a senior FBI agent who has been using hypnosis for over 30 years, and we have been friends for a very long time. And about 2 years ago, he said, "Why aren't you a hypnotist?" And I go, "Because I'm not." And he goes, "I'm telling you right now, everything that you do, you would absolutely love it." And he said, there's a woman in St. Louis that I want you to train with, Dawn Ferguson, and I trained with her, and it was stellar and amazing. So then I went to the NGH conference, and I meet Sandra, and Sandra really was the highlight of that conference for me. Someone who has really been able to take all of these modalities, as you were just chatting about, and putting them into a way that really touch, moves, and inspires people to really create that subconscious and conscious agreement. And so when we had an opportunity to put these things together and create something that, if you are an aromatherapist, a general oil aromatherapist, you can apply this induction. If you are someone who enjoys olfactory anything, you can apply the technique that we're going to teach at Heartland and apply it. Also, here's the other thing: even if you're not someone who is certified as a hypnotist, what you're going to learn in this conference or in this workshop that we're going to do really can apply to almost anything. And so with that, I will throw it to all of you for any questions or comments that you may have.
Well, first of all, John, you have to say the fancy word I always say wrong.
Komoto. So when I was 9 years old, I started studying two things: martial arts and world incense traditions. And usually the next question is, well, how did that happen? Well, my mother sent me to martial arts class, and Mr. Black was burning now what I call bad incense. But I was fascinated. What was this thing where you light it up, you see smoke, and you get fragrance? I had never seen anything like that before. And so I went home. Actually, I took some from the dojo, and I brought the incense home, and I was burning it in my room and didn't tell my mother. But then from across the house, you can hear her feet on the floor, and she kicks the door in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm burning incense. And she said, "I thought you were doing drugs." And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm burning what I got from the martial arts school." Now, I would learn later, as I started getting deeper into the art, was that actually you are burning drugs, because the German word for drug is Drug, which means dried herbs or roots or things like that. And so when I was then 13, I was introduced to a Japanese komoto. So what does that mean? Well, the Japanese tradition of incense is 1,400 years old. It developed during the Muromachi period, and it is a way to actually use all natural herbs and powders and leaves and what have you, to begin to refine your senses. And so the way of incense, kodo, do meaning the way, ko meaning incense, developed over 1,400 years. It has a lot of connotations to Zen Buddhism, but after the fall of the Tokugawa in 1867, when Japan started to take their arts and move them around the world, part of the reason why we have martial arts in most of the world now is because of that change in the Japanese culture. And so there developed a concept called listening to incense, which seems a little non sequitur at first. But when you begin to use fragrance as a way to listen for what's happening with your mind, when you talk about subconscious and conscious agreement, the thoughts that we're having, oftentimes get in the way of that. And so the natural fragrances that we're using, begin to calm the mind waves, what one might say. And so when you're talking about induction, when you're talking about getting people into the space to be able to be suggestible, to be able to take those suggestions and have them be effective, olfactory becomes one of the most powerful ways we can do that, because number one, olfactory is our repressed sense. And so its connection to memory through the limbic system, I won't go into that. That's an 8-hour lecture alone. You begin to use, or you begin to have a relationship with your mind in a different way. Now, some people can say, well, John, can't music do that? Absolutely, music can do that. But if you're beginning to use all different parts of our senses, that it has been said before that it's one sense, but just all differentiated, then you begin to deepen and you begin to heal by causing that subconscious and conscious agreement. And by using this induction, for those of you that are doing this, is that it's a very fast and efficient way to get people into the state. And then because of scent anchoring, then every time that particular fragrance that you're choosing for your client, and there's a process that we'll talk about during the workshop, is that then you can get people into where you need them to be to take the suggestions very quickly.
Love it.
Is this fascinating, guys? Seriously.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of anything like this?
It's weird because I kind of, excuse my naivety, I kind of knew that lavender helps people relax. And sometimes on a stage show, I'll spray a bit of lavender across the chairs just to kind of trigger that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But this is that, and then some, if you know what I mean. So I love it because I know that the smell really does, when it comes to retrieving memories, smell is such an important thing. My curiosity though, is there a certain type of smell that is better for that trance induction, if you know what I mean? Like I say, is it like a fruity scent? Is it a musky scent? What's the type of scent that kind of helps people drift into trance?
Yeah, so the way we first describe this is that we experience fragrance and smell: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and hot. And so one of the things that we'll talk about in the workshop is actually figuring out what people most associate with. So for example, if I said sandalwood, we all know the word sandalwood for the most part, but most people have never smelled real sandalwood. The problem is because real sandalwood, Santalum album, is coming out of India. Well, there's another sandalwood that comes out of Australia called Santalum spicatum. And so if you don't understand the botanical names or the botanical properties of the two different sandalwoods, then there can be cross signals. But men, for example, really enjoy sandalwood, but so do women, because in the Ayurvedic tradition, sandalwood means the great receiver. So it has a lot of connotation with water. There's a Japanese word that says mizu no kokoro, which means mind like water. There's another expression that says ko no kokoro, which means mind like incense. And so how we use this, or at least how I'm using it personally inside of hypnosis, is that when you begin to have people become more fragrant metaphorically, the fragrance is that they're being their natural, authentic self. And so in the workshop, though, we'll walk down through particular fragrances. We'll talk about the botanical names. We'll talk about what they generally do. But what's most important is in the pre-intake, or actually in the intake before the induction, where there's a set of questions that we will teach participants to ask, that begin to have people realize, oh, okay, this person is very, they enjoy woody fragrances, or they enjoy sweet fragrances, or they enjoy, there's a whole bunch of different ones we can talk about without, going too deep.
In clinical work, you would specialize it to the individual, but when folks are working with performance or larger groups, there's some that would probably work with all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, aloes wood there's 57 different varieties of a wood called aloes wood. There's lots of words for it: agarwood, eagerwood, etc. But for the most part, each one of those particular aloes woods produces the mental clarity of a 30-minute meditation in a single inhalation. And so from a historical standpoint, the samurai used to take their helmets and they would burn their helmets over the smoke of aloes wood and then put their helmet back on. Number one, what it caused was what's referred to as samadhi, which is single pointed concentration. But it also produces less thoughts. So when they're going into battle, you've got one thought that's there. And then poetically, if they lost their head during battle and the helmet would fall off, their death would be fragrant. And so we can use aloes wood that really attaches to all human beings in reducing the amount of thoughts that people have. Sandalwood works very well as well. If you're working with women's groups, for example, sandalwood, orange, lemon, things like that. But you can get a lot of these things through aromatherapy using oils. But what we're specifically going to teach, though, are different fragrances that you can get the natural products. We'll teach you how to warm them at the optimal temperature. Notice I said warm instead of burn, because here in America and in other places, English-speaking parts of the world, when you say incense, most of the time people have a negative connotation. They think of like truck stop incense, head shops, or things like that. Well, I'll tell you right now, what we do, like when you experience these fragrances, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Now, where other parts of the world do, but the point is this: we're going to take an entire day and we're going to transform the way that people induce and really do this in a way that is it's just so it opens the heart, but it also, again, primarily very quickly causes that subconscious and conscious agreement.
So, Jim, does this tap into your like inner hippie? Does this work for you?
It's very interesting stuff, that's for sure.
Mm.
Who needs this workshop?
Well, I think that this is where I've learned from my background of training so many students over the years, is that, you know, we're always looking for a new technique. We're always looking for a new method. And the truth is that these have been around forever. You guys have been using, you know, triggers in stage, you know, right? You've been using, like we've been using anchors and triggers forever. And, but there's just like opening up to new ways of looking at these. And so hypnosis has been using these phenomena for a long time. And, you know, like Grant was saying, you may have been like, oh, I know that most people have this association. So by using this scent, I can do that. You know, I used to do a lot of board prep, you know, in my clinical work for people. So I would maybe use an essential oil because I train people in that. And I would use essential oil and I'd be like, as they were studying, they would be using this oil. And then as we were using hypnosis, they'd be doing this. So every time they practice their self-hypnosis, they combine this oil with their studying and the self-hypnosis. And then when they go to do their exam, they put a little bit on and then boom, right, they're there. So we've already been using this as hypnotists in our, you know, anchoring and triggers. And, you know, this isn't new to most of us. I mean, some of you, maybe it is, some of the newer folks, maybe it is. But for most of us, we've already been doing this for a long time. The idea is now we're gonna focus on using it as an induction technique. And so people that are looking for a new way of opening things up for their clients, where it doesn't have to involve as much patter or language, but we can simply just get them to quickly go to that space, right, for themselves. And it's something they can take with them outside of sessions. So a lot of clinical people would get a lot of good out of this, I think, in general. And so people that are looking for new and beautiful ways of creating an induction in clinical work, for sure. But I think the important part that John has really taught me in our time together is that it's really good for us as hypnotists, because we have to be on all the time. Like, remember how we talked about last time I was on, and I talked about how stage folks that I found out that hadn't been hypnotizing themselves before the show, and I'm like, what, are you crazy, right? And so it's sort of like that. It's like, as hypnotists, if we're not using these techniques on ourselves. So I think really it would work just as well for a performance hypnotist. In probably more of it they would be using for themselves, but there's certainly takeaways, like John was talking about, that they could use for the stage as well, you know, for prepping the room as well. But I really think that for the performance folks, it's going to be more about using it for themselves in preparation for performance, probably. And most clinical folks are going to be using it more on their clients, generally.
Well, I love the idea of like John was saying there, though, as well, about like, it's not just about the ones that the layperson like me kind of thinks of specific smells, but by the fact of the, you know, the history of those kind of the samurai and the sense that they're using and the purpose for that. It's so deep, that knowledge, and it's such an untapped resource, and especially when, like Dan's just said there, his instructor says to use as many senses as you can. I think the olfactory sense is the one that is, it's the least favorable one for a lot of hypnotists as such. And I think from what John was saying, probably a really, really powerful one that's kind of not been brought up to speed as a lot of the other modalities. So I'm really excited for this, and John's passion is contagious as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I told you, I met this guy and I was like, I cannot wait for the community to get to know this man. And I was like, you need to be sharing your knowledge. He's so smart. And the fun little side story, because you guys know, I just love the community that you guys create at the summit, and how we as hypnotists have more and more of a community, not as lone rangers out there doing our stuff, but coming together. And that's what HypnoMuse is doing for us, right? Yeah. And so I just want to tell you that, like, meeting John has significantly changed my life. Not only is he an author, but he happened to write a book that was made into a movie that its debut was a few minutes from my house, or a few hours from my house. So when he and his wife came up, I got to meet his wife and go to the show where I got to see him in his film about his book. Like, he is a brilliant man. Wow. And he has such a diverse amount of knowledge. He has so much to give to our community. We're so lucky to have him.
Fantastic.
Definitely.
I feel a little uncomfortable. I got to be honest. I mean, you guys are all of you being really nice. I appreciate that very much. There's a great quote from Alan Watts that says, sometimes we have to go out of our mind to come to our senses. And I think in so many ways, this is what this workshop is going to be about. And what's also fun is that Sandra and I will be doing a 50-minute presentation on Saturday as the precursor to this. But one of the things that we're going to do at the workshop is that the first 2 hours of the day, we're going to give you what's referred to as the incense journey. And this, you as a participant will actually be able to find yourself in probably the deepest center of calm without being hypnotized that you've ever experienced, because of the different types of fragrances that we're going to use. I'll name a couple of them now, just so that you have them. Like, for example, galbanum, which is in the Bible, is that it's written about in the Bible, but no one really knows what it is because most people don't know how to warm it in a proper way. This is a natural resin that is very volatile, and so if you don't get the temperature right, then you don't have the experience. But when you do have the experience, it brings you to a place of calm, of just emptiness, and not like Zen kind of funny emptiness, but really like this place of emptiness. And because when you're in that place of nothingness, the Japanese sometimes refer to it as taifune or shikaku, which means eye of the hurricane. So many people, so many of our clients live in their chaos. So imagine if you continue to push people through their chaos into the center calm of the hurricane. And so once you're there in the center calm of the hurricane, there's a lot of pressure. But this relates to leadership, and this relates to a whole bunch of things in life. And so we're going to be teaching people to go to the center of the hurricane in many ways, giving people a direct experience in the first 2 hours before we go into, the fragrances themselves and information about that, and then the actual technique. It will be a day, and I'm not trying to oversell it, but it will be a day that will be transformational. And I couldn't have a better partner to do it with. So Sandra, thanks so much for working with me on this.
Sure. But there's a lot of folks that are ready to take their hypnotic practice to the next level, and this will create an opportunity for them to do that, right? So when they have the chance to come in and spend some time with themselves after the conference, and then use that as business building for themselves, right? Because they're going to create a new project or a new event, or they have something new coming up, right? This could be a great opportunity for hypnotists to step into themselves for a while post-conference, right? Because there's so much information, so many brilliant people, so many people sharing and giving, right? Come back into themselves for a minute and say, okay, how am I going to take all this new information and do something with it and send it somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
sounds like a really great workshop. Do you so it's on Monday of the Heartland Conference post. It's post. Mm-hmm. We have the link here. If you want more information about this, reach out to Sandra. Reach out to these guys. They will give you lots more information. And I hope to see you at Heartland.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again, guys, for the summit. I'm so grateful for what you created and all that we had an opportunity to share there. Thank you for Hypno News for getting a chance for me to introduce one of our new colleagues or newer hypnosis colleagues into the field and let people to get to know him. And thanks for having us on tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
So, John, very quickly, socials, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is Shihan Wellness. So SHIHAN wellness.com, ShihanWellness.com. You can find me on LinkedIn very easily. That's probably the best place to do that. Sandra, thank you both. I want to thank you both as well. This has been a great opportunity I've been watching what you guys have been doing since I became a hypnotist and love what you're doing. And again, Sandra is such as you said at the beginning, I mean, a powerhouse, in the hypnosis world. And I'm so grateful to have met her, and I'm grateful to meet the both of you. And I look forward to meeting both of you in person.
Really looking forward to it. I'm excited for Heartlands. I was excited. I'm super excited now. And weirdly, I'm going to come up and I'm going to be sniffing you because I want to know what because it's important. So when a random Englishman comes up and sniffs you, don't take offense to it. It's research.
Now listen. My wife is highly trained. You don't know my full background. Be very careful.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. The link is in the comment section as well. Do check that out. Do make sure you're at Heartlands and make sure you check out that workshop. It looks phenomenal. Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. And go to HeartlandHypnosisConference.com to find out more about the Heartland Hypnosis Conference, which Grant and I will both be at, along with a lot of other amazing presenters and attendees.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick link to it there. That's a link to the Heartlands as well. Heartlands is always a great one. We've been there for the past few years. One of the first time I went to Heartlands, actually, I remember meeting Sandra. I'd gone out and done a show, and it was probably, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'd driven 4 hours or something ridiculous from my show. I've got back to Heartlands, and Sandra and a few of the others had stayed up and they were welcoming everybody back. And I just remember getting back to the hotel, shattered, wanting to get to my room. And all of a sudden there was all these people like doing a massive applause. And it was at that point you kind of go, this is such a loving community. And it is amazing. So definitely make sure you get to Heartlands. But that sounds fascinating.
So interesting.
Yeah. I'm really excited for that.
Cool.
So cool. Pacific Northwest is coming up soon.
Sure is. Yep. William Mitchell of the Heartland Hypnosis Conference. He's the producer of that. He's actually coming out to the Pacific Northwest for the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference. So really excited to have him out here.
Yeah. Again, William is such a great guy, such a friendly, giving person in the hypnosis community as well. Really great guy.
Absolutely. And a couple of special announcements, because you always like to put the breaking news on here on Hypno News.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows this, but it looks like I will be doing my hypnosis show at Tacoma Comedy Club, which is just blocks away from the conference center on Sunday evening of the conference. So you definitely want to come out and see that.
Cool. So you've got all the pressure of running the conference and doing the show.
After I sent the request in, I was like, God, should I really do that?
Do you know what though? That's where growth comes from, stretching yourself out your comfort zone.
You bet.
I did really well as well during that talk, because John is such a fascinating guy, and his knowledge is, you can see he's
so much
knowledge. So as a 10-year-old boy inside of me, there was a couple of times when I could have said something like, especially when he was talking about the great receiver, I thought there's a funny comment there, but unusually for me, I'm like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Same here, buddy. Yeah. It took a lot to,
Yeah.
I agree.
But that's your new nickname, the Great Receiver. So the Michigan conference is coming up after Hypno Thoughts. The Michigan for me is the one that tails the end of the year off, if you know what I mean. Really excited for that. I hear they've got a couple of great speakers on. I mean, they've got a few great speakers on there.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for that. Dan, who is in the comment section as well, another great guy in the hypnosis world.
And he's also going to be at the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference.
Yeah.
So I mean, just so many awesome people, and he was at the at Performing Hypnosis. So Dan is what we call a super sponsor. That guy, man, he just gives. He's the great giver.
He's
Wait,
a great
I'm not
giver,
supposed to-
and you're
no,
thinking,
no. Rewind. Nope, never mind.
what you do in your own time is your own business, Jim.
Beef and beef.
Oh, I was talking to someone at an event I was at this week, and it was quite funny actually. They're just moving into their spiritual journey. They're doing some yoga stuff, and she's quite an attractive lady that runs a business. And she's going, "Oh, I've had an amazing experience this week. I've just had a gong bath." Which for me as a 10-year-old, I'm like, whatever you want to do in your own time to relieve stress is fine.
No judgment.
That just reminded me of Peter Blum.
Oh, Peter Blum.
And yeah, I remember him kind of doing his tuning fork vibrational thing at Heartlands.
Yeah.
Again, it's such a great mix of people.
You know what? I think that's so interesting about the incense, because smell is such a powerful sense.
Mm.
I've had a woman pop out of hypnosis during a show one time because the good smell she was smelling was of an ex-boyfriend, his cologne.
Yeah.
A student recently, one of my students, he was up on stage. He nearly made like the whole volunteer crowd vomit. I almost had to stop him because he was so descriptive in this description of something, and I was like, "You can't go that far. You're going to have problems."
Yeah.
Because they were retching, and I was like, "It's funny, but no."
I had a friend who used to say that you should always wear, especially when you're dating, wear a unique cologne, because then that way it is then associated to you, and then that way whenever anybody smells that, they're going to be reminded of you.
Oh, that's good.
And but yeah, I'm really excited for that as a workshop. Just because, like I say, I've played around with a bit of the lavender and like the essential oils, but that really sounds like there's some really kind of Jedi smells that can do the job as well as the hypnosis. So yeah, that's cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah. We've got a list of some events. This is something that Dan put together for us as well, isn't it?
It is. Well, I put together for his magazine, but he's letting us use it too.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
The spring edition, I think, is coming out soon. So get your sign up, people.
Yeah, that is really good. I'm just going to pull up because there was another thing that I needed to put in here, and I've just remembered now. So I'm just going through our chat.
Oh, we can save it for next time.
Oh, okay, cool. We have got a couple of things. That is the streamer's hook.
Oh, that stuff. Yes.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. It is brought up there. That's a streamer's hook. That's my book about how to get the most from your live streams. So that is cool. That is an Amazon link that will take you to Amazon where you can purchase it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's from all the live streams that we're involved in. It's kind of some tips and tricks to help make that engaging and get the most from your lives as well.
Yeah, and I read it, everybody. It's a good book. You know what I think was just the most valuable? Just go to the back of the book and get all the hooks. It's like 100 hooks or something like that.
Exactly, and you know what? And it was different tested hooks of what kind of pulls an audience in and gives them a reason to stay and watch till the end, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, we don't need it on this show because we've got our charm and personality. That hooks them in. That does it already.
But for the ones that are, deficit, check it out. Really, really good book. And it's by Grant Saunders, who, I mean, he's a live streaming god, really. So check it out.
Cool. Yeah, that's. Do you know what? I've really enjoyed tonight's show.
Been a great one.
It has. What great guests, and Sandra's just such an amazing person as well.
Really, yeah. Amazing indeed.
Cool, guys. If you're watching this on the replay, do let us know. Put hashtag replay in the comment section. And if you found value from this, don't just let us know. Let your friends know as well. Lots of people watch this on the replay as well. And if you're watching it on YouTube, do give us a subscribe. We do this because we love it and we want to share the good news of stuff that's going on in the world of hypnosis. And if you've got some good news, some stuff that's going on in the world of hypnosis, drop us an email, let us know, and we can share your stuff as well.
That's exactly what happened this time. Sandra said, I heard you were having people on to interview them. And I said, yes, please come on. Tell us about your show. So, or your program. So please do that. Let us know. We'd love to have you on.
Cool. Jim, I think that's it from us for this week.
Sounds good.
We'll be back next week, same time right here. If we've got a guest, we'll let you know. But yeah, do take care, have fun, and we'll see you next week.
Be awesome.